Good morning, guys. Morning after the Tampa Pro, and a bittersweet announcement from Jon DeLarosa. I say that because it's sad in a way that he has announced his retirement from professional bodybuilding after 14 years as a pro. At the same time, I'm happy for him that he's going to be beginning the next chapter of his life. So I'm sure it's a lot of you have already seen it because social media moves at the speed of light, of course. But let's take a look at what Jonathan had to say this morning. Every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And finally the end. I want to say thank you to everyone who believed in me for all these years. I'm so grateful for the life I've been afforded by you all. Thank you to the IFBB Pro League, J.M. Mannion, Tyler Mannion, for giving us a platform to perform and grow in so many ways other than just our muscle. I saw parts of this world this poor kid from Washington Heights could have never imagined seeing, and got paid for it as well. Wow. Thank you, Dominican Dominator. That's Victor Martinez, for taking a young kid under your wing in the height of your career. I won't go into detail about this all, but I am eternally grateful for you and the friendship we continue to have. Love you, big bro. Thank you, Steve Weinberger and Bev's Gym, for always keeping it real and saying what needed to be said. To every judge, every tanning person, every expeditor, and every person that wanted to even shake my hand, you made me better. Thank you. And to all the training partners I've had through the years, from Pop DeLarosa, that's his dad, Bronx Bad Boy Original, Juan Diesel, Morel, Akeem Williams, Akeem Beast, and many more. Thank you for pushing me every session to be my best. I'm closing this chapter of my life, as hard as it is, because this is all I know, for something with a deeper purpose. God willing, my beautiful wife, Taylor DeLarosa, and I will be able to start a family soon. Love you all, and thank you all for the love and support these years. And he put up some cool pictures. That was him in the early years of his bodybuilding journey there on the left. And over there on the right, that's probably around his height. When I say height, I mean the time when I believe he probably looked his best was around 2015 to 2018. There was a really good shot. By the lighting, I'm going to say that's the Arnold Classic stage right there. Great shot for Jonathan. You know, every physique, he's 41 years old now, guys. Every physique has its peak. I think he peaked a few years ago. Like every physique has a peak. And then it's just never quite the same after that. And there he is with his wife Taylor. I actually think it was pretty amazing he was able to rally back one more time last year and look so good and win the Tampa Pro. And so, you know, it would have been obviously a storybook ending if he had left the sport right there and then on a win on a very high note, but still. It's pretty darn amazing. I want to show you his career goes back pretty far. Now this is not complete because it only goes up to about 2019 or 2020, I think. Yeah, it goes up to 2020. But you can see Jonathan started competing way back in 2006, 19 years ago. He started competing in the NABA organization. Let me just make sure this is showing. Yeah. So he started competing in NABA, won his two classes at the USA Nationals of theirs, moved on to NPC just the next year, 2007. Still wasn't winning yet. These were regional shows in New York City, the Eastern USA and the New York Metro, second and sixth there. Next year, still didn't win, Eastern USA, went to Nationals for the first time. Didn't even place as a light heavyweight. The first time he went to the Nationals, 2008. 2009, he did much better. He won the Atlantic States heavyweight and overall. He won the Junior Nationals light heavyweight and overall. 2010, he was second at the USA. And at that time, second place did not get a pro card. So he was second to Vladimir Sizov. Wow. Looking at some of these names there. So Jason Huh won the super heavies that year. So he went on to win the USA Championships in 2011. Heavyweight class, the overall went to super heavy Steve Kuklo, but that's where he earned his pro card. He had a really good rookie season. New York Pro, fifth place. Toronto Pro, second. So who beat him in Toronto that year? Bill Wilmore. I don't even barely remember Bill. Jeez. And New York Pro, that was a good year for New York. The late Cedric McMillan won that year, 2012. Johnny Jackson was second. Steve Kuklo, third. Juan Morel, fourth. Jon DeLarosa, fifth place. Good time. So he went on to compete as a pro more and more. 2014, you can see how active he was as a pro. That's 7 shows in 1 year. Would not get his first pro win until 2015, Chicago Pro. Vancouver Pro, he got second to Fouad Abiad. When Fouad won that show, the Vancouver Pro. Wow. It looks like Sean Clarita won the 212 there. Continued going on. New York Pro was a show. I feel bad that he never won that, because that was sort of the Olympia for the guys from New York. That was their hometown, and they all wanted to win it. And he did it many times and was never able to get the win. That year, he was second to Sergio Oliva Jr. at the New York Pro. Toronto Pro, he was second to Johnny Jackson. I was at that show. Yeah, I was at both of those shows. So another couple wins he scored in Puerto Rico, 2019, and the Toronto. I was at the Toronto Pro. I was not in Puerto Rico. New York Pro, third in 2020 to Ian Valliere and Justin Rodriguez. Wow, that was a great show that year. So, yeah, man, I want to show just a couple posing clips. So this was yesterday in Tampa. He did drop down from being the defending champion, first place last year, to 6th place this year. And, you know, you could see, I'm sure he was doing everything possible, training hard, dieting strictly, doing his cardio. But after a certain point in time, the body just doesn't respond the way it used to. And I think he saw the writing on the wall. And before things got any worse, where he started looking any worse than this, he just decided, obviously I'm speculating. I haven't spoken to Jonathan. I'd like to talk to him soon for an interview. Go out on your own terms before you start going down the placings and your physique starts looking worse. And again, he's got this great wife now, his second wife, and wants to start a family. He's probably wanted kids for a very long time. And like a lot of professional athletes, a lot of pro bodybuilders, they put off having children until they're done competing, just so that they can be there for them emotionally, just be able to give them the time that they need as kids. So I really applaud Jonathan. I want to take a look at what he looked like back in, this is the Arnold in 2018. So this is probably 2015 through 2018, probably the peak of his physique, where he looked the best. Maybe I should say 2019. That's where he won 2 shows. So for a few years there, his body was really at its prime. You could see how full he was here. That's one thing that seems to go on bodybuilders as they age, is it's the fullness of the muscle, that round, full look to it. Just can't keep that up forever. And here it was a great showing. He didn't win this show. These were some tough years of the Arnold Classic, but you could see how impressive he was here. He wasn't really lacking any body parts. You know, we used to nitpick and say he could have used more upper chest. You could nitpick every single pro and say this could be a little bit better, but overall package was very, very impressive. Size, shape, condition. Condition was something he struggled with at times as far as showing detail and separation, but he did manage to nail it a few times, and a lot of pros never nail it. At least he did nail it a few times. Curious what you guys got to say for some comments. Late that year, he was 4th at the Arnold UK. One bad showing, he retired. I think he made an emotional decision in the way he just treated Tampa. Last year, he was 4th at the Arnold. One bad showing. Well, I don't think he considered that a bad showing. He was top 5 in both the Arnold USA and the UK last year. I don't think he was bitter about that at all. He was actually pretty happy, because those are great lineups. I mean, you had guys like Samson Dowd and Hadi Chupin up there in the top. Good morning, Ron. Good morning. What's up? What's up? Happy Sunday, Melvin. Natalie Coelho, our women's physique Olympia champion, going back for a title. Good morning. Good to see you here. Appreciate it. R.I.P. John. Which John are we talking about? I don't know which John. Kane, who do you mean R.I.P. John? I hope you're not saying Jon DeLarosa. He's not dead. He's just retired. You say rest in peace when somebody dies, not when they retire. 2024 Arnold look was top-notch. His body isn't done by any means. Maybe not, but he's done. He's had a great run. He's competed over 19 years of competing, dieting, prepping, doing all that, the gear. he's probably just ready for the next chapter in his life. Off topic, I think Nick is going to shock the world. I agree. Let's go to just a little bit of footage from Jonathan from yesterday. The individual stuff from Gilco looked really good. And yeah, he wasn't looking awful by any means. He looked really good. It was a tough lineup. You know, we had a bunch of guys. These last few shows before the Olympia, they're going to be stacked. Texas is stacked. Germany, Italy are going to be very competitive. And so yeah, he still manages to keep the tight waistline. Didn't blow out his gut like a lot of guys do once they hit 40 or so. Legs are still there. Another thing that guys often lose in their middle age. You know, I guess technically 41 is middle age. I mean, geez, I'm toward the end of middle age. I'm heading toward senior citizen status. So yeah, he looked really, really good. And you know, he didn't go out looking awful at all. You know, like some guys do come back one last time and they're way out of shape, or they have torn body parts and a bunch of loose skin, things like that. We didn't see that with Jonathan. He looked very respectable. Could he have been leaner and tighter? Sure. I've seen him better than this, but this was not the worst Jonathan I've ever seen. And he was very respectable looking. He went out looking good. And, you know, to those who say, well, he should keep going and going. Well, we're not him. You don't know what's going on in his life and the things he's looking to do beyond bodybuilding that he's probably been looking forward to for a very long time. He's got this new wife, Taylor. He loves her to pieces, I'm sure. And he wants to start a family with her. So there's Taylor. That's his wife. Let's go to his Insta for 1 sec. I'm sure he made the same post. Yeah, same post there. So, yeah. So here he is with Taylor, his wife. And, you know, I'm guessing a lot of guys do want to start a family these days. I know it's not as mandatory a thing in people's lives to have children like it was for centuries, basically. But he still wants to have kids. Here he was on the Menace podcast. Wow, that was 2013 New York Pro. I was there, and I can tell you from the background, that was Big Ramy won that show. I remember distinctly. But this was a great look. This was just 2 years after he turned pro. So what was this, 2013? He would have been 29 years old here. So the body was still fresh, young. Everything was popping. And it wasn't even his prime. He wouldn't really hit his prime for a couple more years after this. But he was definitely coming into his own and starting to show glimpses of how good he could be here. And yeah, I think he was top 4, top 3. Yeah. I mean, Jonathan's going to go down as someone who had a fantastic career, did a lot of shows, looked really good, didn't win a ton of shows, but he was in some very, very competitive lineups. Like I said, this show was Big Ramy's debut. This was the first time we ever saw Big Ramy as a professional. The show we're looking at here, 2013 New York Pro. So, you know, he stood up there with a lot of great people. Absolutely. 2013 New York Pro. This was his signature most muscular right there. That's a signature pose. You know, not many bodybuilders can even say they have a signature pose that caught on. Like if you ask someone, what was Kevin Levroni's signature pose? What was Dorian's signature pose? You know what that was. And it really says something if you can remember a bodybuilder by a certain pose that they used to hit. That was him and Taylor in Tampa. Lovey-dovey post. That's so cool when a wife makes a really sappy post about her husband. This year has not been easy to say the least, so we don't know. When she says something like that, I'm sure there's a lot of things behind the scenes, struggles that he had to deal with, obstacles, things we have no idea that he was going through and dealing with. Okay, here he says working a full-time job, which, you know, we have a lot of people seem to have this impression that pro bodybuilders, none of them work, that they're all just sponsored and they just have to eat, sleep, and train. That's only true for a very, very tiny amount, maybe like 1% of them. Everyone else has to have a job. Most are personal trainers, online coaches. Some of them own gyms. A lot of them have jobs that have nothing to do with bodybuilding. But most bodybuilders, most pro bodybuilders, they do not make enough money from pro bodybuilding to pay all their bills and have a decent lifestyle. They have to work a full-time job. So each training session, yeah, I mean that's it's not easy. And like I said, I bet a lot of you amateurs out there think, well, if I was a pro, I wouldn't. These pros have it easy. They don't have to work. Trust me, most of them do. Dominican domination. That was an article in Muscular Development that I believe I wrote. The Dominican Republic's output of athletic prowess. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I wrote that. Yeah, I was lucky enough to get to know Jonathan, Juan, and Victor, especially Victor, because Victor was with MD for a very long time, Muscular Development. He was with MD pretty much the entire time I was with them, which was over 20 years. But Jonathan was an MD athlete for a long time. Got to interview him many, many times for the magazine, for a Q&A column, for his training articles, things like that. So yeah, these were like the three amigos. They were all from the same neighborhood, Washington Heights in New York City, which is it's a very Latin neighborhood. I think it used to be called Spanish Harlem. But a huge Dominican population there, a lot of Puerto Ricans, a lot of Dominicans. There's Victor with the Dominican flag. I think that's that's the flag of the Dominican Republic. That's a Per Bernal shot right there. Make sure this is all showing. Yeah. That was a great training shot, leg training with Victor and Jonathan. Yeah, Per Bernal was still is an amazing photographer. We just don't have an MD magazine to showcase. There he is with Juan. No, I think this was all from that same article, the Dominican domination. Great shots there. Look at Victor. Victor was, wishing Victor the best. I know he just had some surgery. It was mostly Victor and Juan in these pictures. But there they are. There's Jonathan and Victor. Yeah, Victor was a mentor for sure to Jonathan. Helped him out a lot early in his career, gave him a lot of advice, training with him. And they're very, very good friends, lifelong friends at this point, I'm sure. Wow, look at how young they all were here. So I see Rolly Winkler, Victor Martinez, Dexter Jackson, Guy's sister Nino, Juan Morel, Flex Lewis, a very young Flex Lewis there, and a very young Jonathan DeLarosa. Wow. Great stuff. Yeah, like I said, he was able to share the stage with Victor a few times. I'm sure that was a dream come true for him as well. Okay. Yeah. Where am I at? Just want to keep this up. Oh yeah, there was the Arnold Classic last year. He looked great at that Arnold Classic, and I don't think he was bitter at all about not placing higher at that show. Fourth place was a good placing. Like I said, it was Hadi Chupan and Samson Dauda were the top two, right? I mean, it's not like you got beat by a bunch of bums. I don't think he was bitter about that at all. All right, let's get some comments. Justin Shire looked bigger in pictures and realized he's only 230 at most. Well, he's only like 5'7". John Jewett and DeLarosa plays so differently. Yeah, I mean, John peaked better. He was a little fuller, a little leaner, and that made a big difference. I wrote here, Rich St. John's wants to stand up guy. Oh, what's up, Rich? Yeah, everyone loves. I've never heard anything bad about Jonathan. I mean, most people that I've ever talked to think he's just. I've always had a great relationship with Jonathan. Great interviews. He's very, very down to earth, humble, realistic. Good morning. What's up? What's up, Jeremiah? Does Quentin win Texas? Well, here's the thing: is Jordan Hutchinson is also doing Texas. So unless Quentin can look much better somehow than he did, I know they were very close. Jordan was only 1 point ahead of Quentin at the judging yesterday. At the finals, it was not even close. It was a 5-point difference because Quentin faded and Jordan actually tightened up a little. Did look good overall, yeah. A good run. Definitely wants to focus on family now. Yeah, and it's kind of makes me sad when people they sort of just toss that aside and say, no, you should keep competing. Like I said, you're not in this guy's head. You're not living his life. You don't know what he's been through, what he's going through, what he wants to do, what his hopes, dreams are. He said in the post he wants to start a family. So he wants children. And he's already 41 years old. That's not old by any means, but I think most people when they're thinking about having kids, they start doing the math like, how old am I going to be when this kid graduates high school? So if he's 42 when he has a child and that child graduates high school at 18, he'll be 60 years old when that kid graduates. it's not like a decrepit old man, but 60 is pretty old to have a kid graduating high school. So I don't think he wants to wait much longer. You want to be able to enjoy your kids and have the energy for them, which is tougher as you get old. As much as most of us still live in a very active lifestyle and we do weights and cardio and all this, and we eat clean, you still don't have the energy in your 50s and especially into your 60s that you did when you were, in your 20s or 30s. Your body's much, much older. It's literally twice as old or 3 times as old. Wild times when a 5'7" guy is only 230. That is pretty big. Yeah, it's Kane. People always, that thing about, people say so-and-so should do classic, and they don't realize that the guy's got like 20 or 30 or sometimes more pounds over their height limit for classic. So classic would mean, like, look at Horse MD. Horse MD went down to classic from open, and I think he looked emaciated. I think he looked sickly. I'm not a fan of his look as a classic physique competitor. I liked Horse MD, Marcelo D'Angelis, much, much better as an open bodybuilder. A bit like Dennis James. Keep up the great work, Ron. Thank you. Regan places top 7 in the Olympia. That's bold. It could happen, though. It's a bold prediction. This guy's 300 pounds. Well, I don't think anybody was 300 pounds yesterday. 5'7" guys weighing 250. Yeah. This is a comment because I thought he was like 250 the way his picture looked. So yeah. Well, he's got smaller. The thing is some guys will be 250 and they don't look 250 because they have thicker joints, big, thick, a wide waist, thick wrists, knees, ankles. And another guy can have a smaller bone structure, a more narrow waist, smaller joints in general, and they would look a lot bigger than what they weigh. You might guess them at 250 and they only weigh 230, for example. Nick said he was 260 on stage. Yeah, that sounds about right. Initially had him placing first. Piano, John started. I don't think that's total bias. I never had Jonathan placing first yesterday. I mean, once they came out, I knew Jordan and Quentin, and I was only looking at video stuff on a computer screen, but I could tell immediately it was going to come down to Jordan and Quentin. Jonathan started competing natural. No, I didn't know that. I mean, we have him in 2006 competing in NABA, so I guess even before that, he was in the natural organizations. Say he was going to win. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe that someone like that could have no sponsors, as good as he is and the track record that he has. But sponsorships, companies sponsor people that they want to, have a mutually beneficial relationship. Meaning they have to make money from this person. They want someone who's marketable, who has maybe millions of followers, and this person can blast them out on their Instagram and their TikTok and their YouTube every day and reach millions and millions of potential customers. So we have a lot of guys on social media who are social media stars, influencers, who have great contracts, while you have other guys who are established pros have to go out and work a full-time job because no supplement company is willing to pay them. Yeah, it is unfortunate, but that's business. It's all business. Dominican Domination was a movie I saw on Cinemax. The guy was saying one bad showing he retired from yesterday. Not 24. It was a great showing. I'm not sure who you mean by that. Correction. Spanish Harlem's good. Uh-oh. So here's a native New Yorker, Alon Powers, which I wouldn't. Obviously, I don't know the intricacies of the geography of New York City and the boroughs, but Spanish Harlem is considered 96th Street to 125th. Washington Heights is 55th to 192nd. That seems like there's some overlap there, doesn't it? Oh wait, he revised it. 96th to 125th to Spanish Harlem. Yeah, that makes more sense because otherwise they overlap. Okay, so now you guys know if you want to visit Spanish Harlem, those are the streets. I think it's a good decision. He's got a gym and a great gal. Time to pivot. Any updates on Ronnie? I haven't heard anything lately, but he's been posting. If you go to his Instagram, you'll see he's doing well. He's out and about. Right? There's more life than shotgunning steroids eating every 2 hours opposing a thong. I mean, I know that's kind of harsh, but the eating thing is really, it does get annoying. It gets to be a job, a chore. And he's been doing this for, he's been competing for 20 years. So that's 20 years of eating probably six times a day, every day. You don't really get a break from that. Other sports have an off season and they can relax for a little while. Bodybuilders, their off season is all about trying to make improvements for the next competitive season. So there's no break. The training never stops. The constant eating never stops. The gear might come down to a very minimal amount or maybe nothing for some guys for a little tiny while, but yeah, it's nonstop. Get you goofy ass out of here. Yeah, I mean, I never understood this type of outlook on the sport from people that follow it. Why would you follow bodybuilding if you had such a low opinion of it, where you would say something like that? Jump on a Masters Olympia, finish on a high. Well, Dave, it's too late to jump into the Masters Olympia. Masters isn't like another show where you can just Monday before the show call the promoter, hey, I'm going to get a ticket to Tokyo. I want to do your show. It's an Olympia, just like the Mr. Olympia and all the Olympias, where there was a whole process that took months and months to establish who was competing and a finalized lineup. So I really don't think it's possible to jump into the Masters. No, he didn't retire before. He left for a couple of years because he was going through, some tough times in his life. He had been divorced. He moved. Different things that happened where competing just wasn't making sense. He opened a gym down in Sawgrass Mills, Florida. I mean, there were other things that were taking his time and attention away. So I don't think this is an emotional reaction. I think he's at the point in his life at 41 years old with a beautiful new wife, newer. I think they've been married for a couple of years. He looked good, even better than a decade. I don't think he looked better than a decade ago, Gizmo. He looked pretty damn good, but it's his decision, and he's basing it on what he wants to do as the next chapter in his life. And I don't think it's because he feels like his body is breaking down. I don't think he doesn't feel he can still look really good. I think he just wants to get on to the next phase of his life. He's been doing this a very long time. A very long time. Yeah. I mean, he looked great there. That was Arnold last year. Let's see, we'll find some other footage. I think that was Tampa from last year. Yeah. I mean, this is when he won Tampa Pro last year. He looked fantastic. So I don't think it's a case of he's getting out because he thinks his body is breaking down or starting to go backwards. I don't think that's the case. He's just he's ready for the next part of his life. He's ready to move on and do different things with his life. Maybe become a dad. It sounds like he really wants to be a dad. And you know what? God bless him. And I want him. If you're a fan of Jonathan, you would want him to be happy. And so you would support his decision. I agree the horse MD doesn't look good in class. I think he could have been better in the open. He took training more serious. I don't know if he was serious or not. I have no idea. No low opinions, the blunt truth. I mean, truth is subjective. It's very subjective. Sabby deserves a happy life. I agree. Yeah, I let's just say, totally fair and good decision for him applying. What age did you retire or not? Me? So I was 43. I wasn't a pro. Came close a couple times, but I wasn't a pro. I competed from age 19 to 43. Jonathan, pretty close. I think he was a teenage, started competing around 19 or 20, and he's retiring at 41. So he did this for over 20 years. He competed for over 20 years. It was a long run. He put a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into this sport. And he looked fantastic. He won some shows. He made it to the Olympia stage. He made it to the Arnold Classic stage a few times, made it to the Olympia a couple times. So, he did a lot in the sport. He's somebody who's going to be remembered. Just because you didn't win an Arnold Classic or a Mr. Olympia doesn't mean you don't go down as one of the greats. He's going to be remembered as one of the greats of his era, and part of a very, very competitive era, that early 2010s through there with guys like Rami and Juan Diesel, Morel and Victor and Dennis Wolf. I mean, it was a great. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. John seemed very burnt out in latest power with Dennis. He's also running with Jim. Yeah, he's had a gym. I can't remember the name of it in Sawgrass Mills, Florida, which is I can't recall where I went to that area a couple of years ago when my daughter was living in West Palm Beach. It wasn't that far. I think it was maybe an hour. It was a mall. There's like a big mall there. We went to these outlets that were there. But he's in Florida. He's been in Florida for years now. Like a lot of New Yorkers end up in Florida. A lot of people from the Northeast in general, places like New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts. A lot of us end up in Florida. It's almost a cliche. But Jon looked amazing, for many, many years. He probably could have kept going and going had he really wanted to. I just don't think he wanted to. He's ready. He's ready for the next chapter in his life. He's done bodybuilding for more than half of his life. He's been devoting to this sport, and your life is short. You don't have forever to live. It's a very limited amount of time. We're all here. Sawgrass Mills Mall, yeah, I was there. So congratulations to Jon on the next chapter of his life. I wish him much, much success, and hope he finds all the happiness in the world. Hope he's able to start that family with his wife. And thanks for the memories. You'll go down as one of the best of your era. And, you should be proud. I'm sure he is proud. He's leaving a legacy behind. And that's it. So that's it, guys. So Jonathan DeLarosa retired after a 20-year career in bodybuilding. And that's it. Wish him the best. Thank you guys for watching. Just a quick note about that code on the bottom for Blackstone Labs, Ron15. That won't be active until it's active now, but you can get 25% off because of their back to school promotion until tomorrow. So if you want to save even more money on Blackstone Labs, don't use my code till tomorrow. Go ahead and go there now and get 25% off with their back to school savings. So that's it. Talk to you guys later, and thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.